Victoria's Planning Minister has refused to extend the Windsor Hotel's development application. Let's have a look. Good evening everyone, I'm Florian Heise and welcome to this episode of Heise Says. I've got my evening stein of coffee and I thought we'd look at this article about the development or the potential development of the Windsor Hotel down in Melbourne. And what we'll do is I'll just jump onto, I've brought it up on Google Earth, and we will have a little bit of a tour. Let's have a look. How do people used to do this stuff before Street View? It's just fantastic. You can see the beautiful hotel here. It's over 130 years old. I think it's 137 years old. Or maybe even older. But I mean, look at that. Beautiful building. It's proposed to be redeveloped with a huge tower on the site as well. And they had 10 years and they haven't done it within that time period. So now the Hotel Windsor, is going to, well, they need to resubmit or reapply. I quite like the old buildings. Do they have a 3D model of it? Yeah, they do. I quite like the old architectural style, and I'm a big fan of courtyard buildings myself. They create some of the nicest spaces in cities. Maybe I fell in love with them when I went to Germany, seeing all the old courtyard buildings there in Berlin. They were just everywhere, and they're fantastic. So let's have a read through this article. So, Melbourne's historic Windsor Hotel was supposed to be completely redeveloped by early next year, bolstered by a 92-metre high rise tower. But after a decade of delays, Planning Minister Richard Wynne has called times up on the ambitious overhaul. Mr Wynne on Friday refused the application from the Halim Group, which owns a 136-year-old hotel, to extend their planning permit by another 4 years. Apologies, 136, not 137. So when you get a approval, development approval, planning approval, you have a certain time frame in which you need to act upon it. You can apply to extend it, and usually the government is happy to take your fees. But understandably, over a period of time, the needs of the, or the requirements or expectations of the community will change, so they may not extend it. Approval for the $330 million redevelopment was granted a decade ago, but no construction work has been carried out to date on the 26-level project. Mr Wynne said the Halim Group wanted to extend their permit until August 2023, which would have dragged the process out for 13 years. That sounds like a long time, but you're talking about over $300 million. $300 million on a site. Let's just have a look. I'll turn off the buildings. We'll have a look here where it's sitting in Melbourne. North here, I mean, just north of the river, not too far from Docklands, right near the heart of the city. Got a beautiful park. Yeah, it's a fantastic location. It is a fantastic location. Maybe they're waiting for the construction sector to die down a little bit, or demand for it to increase. Now probably wouldn't be the best time to start building another tower with all the stock that's coming on market, and just with the teetering global economy, even though we're hearing from all the real estate agents that it's turned around. Sure it has. This is almost unprecedented in the history of development here in Victoria, he said. Mr Wynne said the Halim Group had clearly been unable to secure finance for the project. Oh, there we go. And I wonder why they wouldn't be able to secure finance for the project. He said the Halim Group was free to make another application to redevelop the hotel, but it would have to satisfy new height conditions. See, this is why they will often push to, pay the money, take the burden of keeping the older approval, because sometimes town planning requirements change, and often they'll become stricter and more restrictive. And your previous, you could often sell the site with the previous planning approval if the code changes and it's still applicable, because that's got value. The fact that you've got that has some value into it, and that's why it's funny when they expect architects. Sometimes developers want architects to do free concept designs. If you get it through DA, I'll let you get the construction work. I wish I was kidding, but there are people that expect you to do that. I don't do that. But yeah, I remember the first time actually when I got my first ever job at a big firm here in the city, and they said, this is where we store all the BD projects where we don't get paid for them. And I go, what do you mean? Oh, sometimes we have to do some free work to win the job, but that's usually the most interesting part. They should be coming to you based on the other work. I was young and naive. Architects give away work. They give away a shitload of work, guys. A shitload. Other professions would be shocked. They would be shocked, you know. It's good coffee. There is now a 25-metre height control on Spring Street and 40 metres at Windsor Palace to the rear of the building. There you go. That's why they wanted to keep it. I simply say to the Halim Group, come and talk to us if you have an alternative proposal, but will have to be dealt with under the new controls. Soon after Mr. Wynne had made his announcement, Halim Group Hotel Director Adid Halim issued a statement saying his company was disappointed in the decision. Well, of course they were disappointed with the decision. You've just lost a fantastic financial opportunity. But, securing the funding, if the market's even, going to be able to sustain it at the moment, the confidence in Australia for apartments is just... Does it even exist anymore? Is there any confidence anymore? Rather than the confidence men and the real estate agents and the Bloomberg articles from America that are saying everything is going good, is there confidence out there for apartments, guys? Because frankly, I think just by the world I'm living in and the media I'm consuming as part of making this channel and just my interests, I have absolutely no confidence at all in the slightest. But I may be a little bit biased. So I have to acknowledge that. When you're living in I wouldn't say an echo chamber, but when you're turning yourself into a funnel to convey news of all of the building issues in the country, you may become a bit cynical and skeptical of any of these issues in these high-rises. So it is understood the company is unlikely to again take Mr. Wynne to the State Planning Tribunal to challenge his decision not to extend the planning permit. "We're disappointed with the Minister's decision," Mr. Halim's statement said. "It is an opportunity lost for the Hotel Windsor and for Melbourne. We're determined to keep the hotel and work with Heritage Victoria to try and find an alternative solution. Meanwhile, it is business as usual." That's the thing with these type of buildings, and they do it here in Brisbane, where in Brisbane there's a historic document, or not in Brisbane, in Australia, there's a historic document that you might be interested in called the Barra Charter, and it's to do with the restoration and preservation of old buildings. And I've actually worked on a few heritage listed buildings before, a church here in Brisbane, Charters Towers, renovation of the old stock exchange there. It's a beautiful building. And I mean, you can see here just the treatment at the edge and the details. A lot of this is actually, it's aesthetic as well, but it's functional too. Helps break up the rain. It means the buildings don't look as dirty as some of the other ones. If you look around, just look at the weathering on some of the modern buildings. All the grime and stuff coming down the side, how horrific it looks. Particularly the nice shiny aluminium cladding, and I'm sure this facade will have a little bit more trouble catching on fire. But also notice the windows. It's all to do with just, in older buildings you'd have taller floor-to-floor heights because you wouldn't have mechanical systems back then. So to make sure they had sufficient air volume in the spaces so you could have large populations in the rooms, you'd need more head height. And then the windows, making a vertical piece of glass that you could open up and down is a lot easier than making a wider piece of glass. So it's all a sign of the technological times and what the civilization was capable. So if you look at, modern contemporary buildings in the distance, what does that tell you where we're placing our value? So in 2016, the Halim Group went to the Planning Tribunal to force Mr. Wynne to extend the planning permit until 2020. The developer had threatened to turn the hotel into a backpacker hostel or even close it down altogether after Mr. Wynne refused to extend the permit in 2016. Oh, there you go. So they're playing rude ball, we should say. The Windsor Hotel was built in 1883 and is on the Heritage Register. Notable guests include Lawrence Oliver, Vivian Leigh, Gregory Peck, Lauren Bacall, and Margaret Thatcher during her 1981 prime ministerial visit. Last month, the opposition has urged Mr Wynne to reject the extension application, arguing he must ensure that Windsor isn't wrecked. The Brumby Labour government first approved the redevelopment in 2010, following an embarrassing bungle in which an email from the then Planning Minister, Justin Madden's office, was accidentally sent to the ABC. The email outlined the government's plans to run a sham public consultation and then reject the application for political purposes. A month after the email was sent, Mr Madden signed off on the tower. Why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised that Labour in Victoria wanted to run a sham public consultation when they've done the exact same thing here in Queensland with the Lady Salento Hospital? Is it just the Labour thing? I don't think it is. I think it's a major party thing. I think the minor parties are probably too busy trying to scrape their two coppers together. At least I hope they are. Well, yeah, that instills me with faith in democracy, guys. Does it instill you? Let me know. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you all later. Bye for now.